你二本都演下嘅。
Hi everyone. Give me 1 second. Let me start sharing my slides. Sabine, you're gonna monitor the waiting room, right?
Yes, I will keep an eye on the waiting room as well as the chat box if there's any questions that come through that.
All right, thank you.
Of course.
All right, hi everyone. Welcome back to our lesson. For those of you who haven't seen me before, I am Tu. I'm a senior dietetic student at San Jose State University. And along with me today is a team of students who are taking community nutrition class. And they will be presenting and sharing their nutrition knowledge with us today. And for those of you who have questions, I will make sure I will pause between topics so you will have time to type your question in the chat and Sabine will keep an eye on that, or you can unmute yourself. So today's presentation, we will first introduce you to the National Nutrition Month and its messages. Then we will touch base on small topics that are mentioned in the National Nutrition Month messages. And those topics are planning to cook meals for small household of 1 or 2 people. We're gonna touch on some food safety topics, as well as some shopping tips. And I highly recommend, if you can, take notes in this lesson, because we're going to give you information that are very helpful for your daily cooking, as well as help you develop a healthy lifestyle and diet. So let's get started. So the National Nutrition Month is an annual campaign that created by the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. During the month of March, everyone is invited to learn about making informed food choices, developing healthful eating, and physical activity habits. The main focus of the National Nutrition Month this year is to personalize your play. And by just following the 4 messages below, you are encouraged to design your own diet as if it is unique to your bodies, your goals, your background, and taste, because one diet does not fit all. So let's talk about the first message is about cooking and prepping. So by learning skills to create tasty meals, for example, you can keep healthful ingredients in your storage, practice proper home food safety, or you can reduce food waste by make a good use of your leftover. The second message for this National Nutrition Month is meal planning. Plan your meals each week. You can use for example, you can use a grocery list to shop so you don't spontaneously choosing food while you're shopping and being hungry. Another example can be you can start prepping your snacks so you can have healthy snack instead of you are hungry during work or school and then you need to go to a vending machine and buy something that are not very healthy. The third message is to vary your diet. So eat a variety of food that are nutritious every day. So include healthful foods from all of the food groups. If you haven't done so, Take time to enjoy your food, take time to chew, so your body have time to digest the food appropriately. And one of the last message for the National Nutrition Month is to visit an RDN, as known as Registered Dietitian Nutritionist. So by consulting a registered dietitian nutritionist, which you can ask your doctor for a referral to an RDN, you can receive personalized nutrition advice that will meet your unique goals and background. And they RDNs, they are very friendly, they are very enthusiastic in helping you to figure out your unique diet plans. Now that I have introduced you to the National Nutrition Month, let's dive into our first topic, which is cooking for one or two. So the reason why I want to bring this topic up is because according to census, 1 or 2 person household have been increasing during the recent years. And healthy and nutritious eating is important even if you have a small number of family members. However, not every small household are comfortable with cooking regularly. So I have provide several tips down here that will help you prep your meals for a few people that are effective, strategic, and enjoyable. So you can use the My Plate guide to make your food choices. So on the corner top right is the My Plate guide. So looking at it, you will have a better idea of what kind of food groups you want to include in your meals, and make sure you have a nutritious and a variety food choices in every meals. Planning for more convenient and economical cooking, which can mean shopping with a grocery list instead of buying something when you're hungry. Reduce your favorite recipe. So this is an interesting point I want to mention, because sometimes you find like your favorite recipe online and they call for 8 or even 10 servings, and your household only have 1 or 2 people. So there are ways that help you to reduce a recipe. And in this picture right here is give you an idea of how to reduce a recipe. So to reduce a measurement by half, let's say if the recipe calls for 1 cup of rice, then you can reduce this to half a cup. Or if you can reduce the recipe by third. So if the recipe calls for, let's say 1 cup of flour, then you can use 1/3 cup instead. So in that way, you can make less food and you don't need to worry about having too much left over. Other tips for cooking for 1 or 2 are equip your kitchen with tools. So let's say if you have a cast iron and some recipe call for cast iron, you have that tool ready. Shop for nutritious grocery and choose healthy cooking methods. So steaming, baking, grilling, sauteing instead of deep frying your food. Those are healthier cooking methods that are proved to retain a lot of nutrients, especially in vegetables. And lastly, make use of your leftovers. There's a term that is called plan over, which is reuse your leftover to make a new dish. So I am actually watching a show on Netflix. It's called Best Leftover Ever. This is a very interesting show because in the show, the people, they will given several dishes of leftover, and they are all chef. And the host require them to make like a fancy, glamorous dish out of all the leftover. And the show has been raised a lot of awareness about make use of your leftover and enjoying it instead of throwing it away. All right, as we talk about leftover, I want to move on to topic 2, which is also about leftover, food safety. So a lot of us have leftover, so we need to make sure we know how to store them and consume them safely. So first, in order to have safe leftover, you want to wrap it well. So make sure you cover your leftover, just like in the picture. You see in the picture right here, all of the leftover are very well covered. You can also wrap them in airtight packaging or seal them in storage containers. So just make sure you have it well covered. Why? Because these practices will help you keep the bacteria maybe in the air environment out of your leftover. Is also retain moisture, so your leftover won't get dry, and is prevent leftover from picking odors from other leftover in the refrigerator in case you don't cover them. So you don't want to left some leftover egg uncovered in your refrigerator, because next day when you open your refrigerator, it will smell like eggs, and you don't want that to happen. Second, store leftovers safely. So it is a lot about the timing. Leftover can be kept in the regular refrigerator from 3 to 4 days. So if you want to note this down, 3 to 4 days for leftover. After 3 to 4 days, you should discard them because they might be at risk of spoilage. And if you happen to plan to freeze your leftover, sometimes I know some of you cook maybe big batches of spaghetti sauce and you want to freeze them for later use, you can store them in the freezer up to 3 to 4 months. And lastly, very important, is to label your leftover. The reason why we talk about the 3 to 4 days or the 3 to 4 months to freeze your leftover is because we want to make sure you don't exceed those time, because if you exceed those timelines, your leftover might be at higher risk of spoilage and it will become poisonous. So label your leftover so you will know when to discard them. And that is the point. And another food, so as we wrapped up about leftover topic, do you have any questions?
I have a comment about the length of food staying in the fridge. I tend to have a lot of leftovers in the fridge. So if I ever get nervous and have something that's been in there a couple days, I might reheat it, bring it back to heat at 160 or so, bring it to a boil depending on what it is, and then cool it off quickly again and put it back in. And that will save me a few days and allow it to last a little bit longer.
I'll make another comment. Thank you, Scott, for bringing that up. Is yes, you want to reheat your leftovers safely. So bringing it up to a boil, if it's a soup or a sauce, at least 165 degrees otherwise, right? So you want to make sure you get it nice and piping hot when you do reheat it. That's really important. in the freezer, things actually last for a long time. So if you have something that gets in there and you pull it out and it's been 6 months, 9 months, and you're like, I wonder if this is still safe to eat. It's likely still safe to eat. It's just the quality starts to deteriorate after a certain period of time. So you want to try to manage your leftovers so you don't have things that are not at their peak of quality when you do enjoy them. So that's really important. I think the other thing is, so labeling is super important so that number one, you know what it is. If you've got all these little baggies and packages of leftovers and you don't know what they are, it's hard to pull out the correct thing. So the label is really important, and then including the date on that as well, so that you know when it went into the freezer is the other really important thing. So labeling and dating.
Yeah, thanks, Scott and Professor Kumura, to bring up the make sure to boil your leftover, because we would not know what kind of chemical reaction or what happened with our food while they are staying in the fridge, and especially it's leftover. And I think it's a very, very good point. And so my next touch point about food safety is about packaging dates. So even I find the reason why I want to mention about this topic, because even myself to this day, I still get confused about these terms like best if used by or used by date, or sometimes there is like a code on the food package and I just don't know how to interpret that. So I think it's going to be useful that we can review this today. So the goal of the date label is to inform customer of the date to which customer can expect the food to retain optimal quality, including flavor, color, and texture. And the food industry is moving to standardize the term best if used by, with support of the Food and Drug Administration. So when you see sell by dates, it means that the store should sell the products by the printed day, but the consumer, you can still consume this products after this day, as long as it's retaining its flavor and the quality. If you see best if used by date, customer or you can consume by this date for best quality and flavor, and keep in mind that if it's past that best if used by date, you might expect maybe discoloration, some quality reduction and flavor, but it doesn't mean that right after the best if used by date it's getting spoiled and you need to throw it right away. Used by date. So when you see the used by, it means that it's the last date recommend for peak quality. But there's one important reminder that for infant formula and baby food, you should discard it after the use by date. For closed or coded date, so sometimes manufacturers don't write clearly the date like March 3rd, 2021, but they have code instead. So the reason why they are doing this, because these are the packing numbers that used by the manufacturer, that if a problem occur with the food, they can be recalled. And by knowing about these packaging dates, we also need to keep in mind that we always need to inspect the packaging condition. So even if a food still good before the sell by date, but if it's dented like this picture right here, once the packaging is damaged, it means that there are possibility that bacteria has been has find a way to get inside the packaging and start to grow. Because when a packaging is dent means the seal is damaged, so bacteria can start to grow in the package, and you would not want to consume food that in like a damaged packaging. And not only packaging, you also want to check the look of your food. If it's look odd, if it have some mold in there, you definitely don't want to consume it, even though if it's not past the use by the best if used by or the sell by date. You can also inspect by smelling it. So if the food smell odd, if it smells sour, then it's not supposed to, like milk, you still want to consider and discard those food.
Two, I would also add that if the package, if it's a closed can or a closed package and it's starting to, the seal is looking a bit like it's swelling, you may, you should definitely not consume that. And you should let where the store or wherever you purchased it, let them know, because they may be seeing that across multiple, may not just be your can or your package. I've had this happen a couple times with Trader Joe's and hummus, where the package, I get it home, it looks fine, but within 24 hours, it's starting to swell. And so we do not do that. We let the store know.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. If I'm not wrong, sometimes when products are like swelling, or maybe a can of milk kind of feel like it's gonna explode, it means that bacteria are growing, and when bacteria are growing, they emit like, I guess, air.
Or
So
gas.
it's the sign of bacteria is growing and producing extra air and pressure on the package, and you definitely don't want to consume those food. Jamie, do you want to add something?
Oh, I put something in the chat. I was saying, when in doubt, throw it out, right? If there's any doubt, if things look bad, smell bad, don't even try it, just throw it out. I think the point of the slides and Tu's presentation here was that you don't have to throw something out simply because of the dates on the package. I think there's that misconception going around. And so we have a lot of extra food waste. Food waste is a significant problem in the US and actually globally. And so being mindful of the fact that things are usually good way past those dates on the packages, and you don't have to throw things out.
Yeah. And I also want to add to Professor Kubura's point about the dates. A lot of food drives actually hand out products that are close to the expiration date, or sometimes it's like after expiration date by maybe 2 or 3 days. And a lot of people think that people handing out expired food, but it actually not. It actually just play by the rule of, if the food, even if past expiration date, but once you know how to inspect the packaging condition, the smell, the appearance, the taste of the food, is totally safe to consume. And I would like to pass on the presentation now to Tammy, and Tammy will talk about shopping tips.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So for topic 3, I would like to cover 6 tips that we gather to show you how to shop more efficiently, especially for smaller household. The first one that you can see is to make a grocery shopping list. After you're checking the pantry and refrigerator, and before you go into the supermarket, especially if you go hungry, as Tu mentioned earlier, it will save you time, help you stay on target, and avoid over purchasing stuff that you don't need or already have at home. Secondly is to buy seasonally, or to make use of your local farmer markets. This does not only ensure that you get the best deal price-wise, but also get the most delicious and fresh produce. So for this season, for instance, for spring, carrot, celery, mushrooms, spinach are in season, so you should catch them when you can. Third tips is about buying food in bulk. Normally, buying bulk food uh, and salad from the salad bar can be ideal options for smaller household because you can choose the quantities that you like. But due to the pandemic, this may not be the uh, practical option. So you should either check with your local supermarket, or you can use the same principle for produce and meat, where you should buy individually wrapped produce, or ask your butcher to get you a smaller portion that you need. This can be a little more expensive than buying food in bulk, but it can ensure that there less food go to waste. The fourth tip is to shop with a friend. This can increase your time spending with your friend and also have both you get the benefit of getting the food you need without having too much leftover. The fifth tip is about portioning out your food. It's important to put your food away as soon as you get them, um, or within the 2 hours of cooking, especially perishable items, to prolong their shelf life and avoid spoilage. Last but not least is to consider a community-supported agriculture program close by, where you can have fresh and personalized food items in quantity that you want delivered, sometimes delivered to your door. Some programs that in the area include Eating with the Seasons in San Francisco, Veggies, Vegilution Community Farm, and Fresh Knit Farms in San Jose, Frog Hollow Farm CSA in Brentwood. Next slide, please. So now that we have covered how to shop more efficiently, let's review how to cook more efficiently for 1 or 2 member household. Excuse me. So the first tip is to be prepared. And by this, I mean that to have your recipe review ahead of time, take note of all the ingredients that you need so you can make sure that you have them on hand or take them out of the freezer ahead of time so you can save time. And, yeah, just save time in general. Secondly is to decide whether you want to make a full recipe or to cut them down to desired portion. By making full recipes, you can have more leftover, so you can save time later on. You have already made food, you can reheat them when you need them for a few days after. Or if you cut down the recipe, then you will have the option to make other food other days, and you have much less leftover. The third tips is about this cheat sheet that you can see on the screen. Like who had mentioned earlier in the presentation, this cheat sheet where you can cut down the recipe in half or in third is very convenient. Having one of them maybe printed out and post in your kitchen area is can be conveniently helpful when you want to make your recipe smaller and you don't know how to calculate the measurement right to make exactly like what the recipe call for. Last but not least, for this portion, I want to talk about food swapping and exchanging. This is a ways that you can um, have exchange, or a way that you can communicate or exchange food with your friends, family, and neighbors who enjoy sharing, don't mind cooking extra portion, and don't live too far from you. So you can set up the pickup and dropping off food logistic. This would work particularly well if you have similar reference or cooking style, or you like trying different dishes? Next, please. For the last topic, I would want to emphasize on food storage and how you should utilize the freezer. So according to the FDA, hot food should be kept at an internal temperature of 140 Fahrenheit degree or warmer, and cold food should be held at 40 Fahrenheit degree or colder. Perishable left out at room temperature should be discarded after 2 hours or after 1 hour if the temperature rises above 90 Fahrenheit degree, unless you kept them, held them hot or cold at proper temperature. So for the food that already ready to be put away, we should either put them into the fridge or the freezer for longer shelf life. So why the freezer? Freezing is actually delay spoilage and keep food safe by crystallizing the water, which is an essential element for most microorganisms to grow and for the enzyme activity that take part in the food spoilage. So by storing food into the freezer, like we have mentioned many times, it can delay the process of food going bad. As you can see from the top left corner, this is the recommended order where you should store how you should store your food in the freezer, where raw meat, poultry, and fish or seafood should be stored at the bottom shelf of the freezer, because this area of the freezer tend to be the coldest and the temperature is the most stable, which is very important for these raw food items to stay good. For the upper level, you can store vegetable soup or packaged or already pre-made food. And for the last shelf on the top, you can store like dessert or frozen fruit, those things that don't need to be reheat. And then, so in the same topic with freezer, we always should make sure that the fridge temperature is consistently at 40 Fahrenheit degree or below, and the freezer temperature is consistently at 0 Fahrenheit degree or below, so the food don't get spoiled. So similar to dehydrated or canned food, pre-made frozen food can be very handy, especially on days that you don't want to cook, or you just have a very long day and you just want something quick. So frozen food is an option. So don't feel shy away or don't feel guilty to have some of your favorite frozen food stacked in the freezer, like you can see here in the picture. However, when it comes to buying frozen food, it's important to always check for the fact nutrition labels, because these food tend to contain a lot of sodium, saturated fat, added sugar, or cholesterol. So you want to be mindful with what food you choose to store away. The last topic is I want to discuss about how you can store your pre-portion and store your food in the freezer. As the picture in the right corner, you can see that food are stored in thin white Ziploc bags. This is one of the most recommended way to store food in the freezer, because they not only in smaller portion, but they are easier to be organized or pile up. So it saves the space, it saves time to thaw food, which is important for the quality to remain relatively good when you want to reheat the food. So when you store the food, just make sure that you store them in the portion you prefer to have in the future. Label the food always, date the food so you know when to discard them, and make them a habit to store these food properly. That's it. Do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just have a quick comment on the arranging of the food on the chart up here. I just want to say that the reason why we store meat and fish or like raw products in the bottoms is one of the reason is that to prevent food contamination from raw products, because sometimes maybe you buy a package of raw chicken breast, and if you store it on the top shelf of the freezer, and when it just come back from the store, it's not frozen yet, and there might be some juice coming out of the raw meat that might drip on your ice cream, and you don't want to have any raw meat juice on your cooked food or ice cream. So that is the reason why they arrange it that way, and I just want to point that out.
Thank you too.
Yeah, so thanks, Tammy, for very useful tips on shopping and also how to store frozen food. And I hope everyone by now you have some good notes taken down, because I myself, I have a bunch of notes. And also there are a lot of food charts, like the chart where they show you how to reduce recipe. There are a lot of resources online that you can print it out and display it around your kitchen. That's what I do, and it's really helpful. I actually have a picture of the My Play, that magnet on my refrigerator. So by doing that, you have visual reminder of how to store food appropriately.
Yeah, and two, I was just going to add really quickly, after this presentation, we will send over the how to reduce your recipe chart that you showed, Tammy showed, and you showed earlier, as well as some other helpful resources that they can take and put in their kitchen.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll make sure we post them and make it accessible. All right. Okay, so to sum up our lesson, I want to repeat the main focus of this year National Nutrition Month is to personalize your plate. And by practicing the 4 messages right here, cooking and prepping, meal planning, vary your diet, and considering visit a registered dietitian nutritionist, you can equip yourself with skills set that will help you design a diet that is unique for your body, your goals, background, and your own taste. And by checking with a registered dietitian nutritionist, they will also assist you in tailoring a diet that as unique as you are and as we all are. Now I would like to move on to our cooking demos. So the main focus of our cooking demos today is to cook for 1 or 2 people household, like me and Tammy has mentioned in the lesson. We want to show you that cooking for less people is as enjoyable and doable compared to cooking big batches. So I will pass this on to Janine for the first demo, which is chicken veggie foil packages. And then following Janine will be, I will show a video, a food demo made by Scott. It's about frittata. And then there will be another videos on a very fast, quick, convenient, delicious dessert that you can make in a mug. Is a banana chocolate cup muffins. So let's pass this on to Janine.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. So as we learned last week, we kind of had a couple weeks ago about a DASH diet. And this is a recipe that would cater to that. This is also a recipe that is made for either 1 to 2 people with some leftovers. So the recipe I will show you in a second has, you would take chicken breast, cut that in half so they're thinner and easier to cook in time. We have mushrooms here, high in potassium. We have 1.5 cup baby carrots and a 1/2 cup of sweet red peppers, which are high in beta carotene and vitamin A. We also have 1 cup of pearl onions, a little bit of pepper and some thyme, and optional is salt. So let me try to switch cameras so I can show you guys. Can everyone see my other screen here? Okay, so I have here your chicken breast. I already have everything kind of prepared already. The red peppers, mushrooms, and carrots and onions. For this, to make it more convenient, I have already prepared the carrots and onions steamed in the microwave if you are using frozen packages. Now, if you are going to use a frozen ingredient, go ahead and steam these because you don't want them frozen right away in the oven. That will mess up the cooking process and the cooking temperatures. So just to make sure, since we're cooking chicken and protein, we want all this to be safe. So let me try to also do this with one hand. So we have a sheet of foil here, and we will be placing 1 chicken, placing red bell peppers on top. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great. And then your mushrooms. And pile on your veggies.
Janine, it's loaded with veggies. I love it.
Yes.
And very colorful.
I am guilty. I put a little bit more veggies than the recipe calls for, but that's for your guys' preference as well.
I wouldn't say you're guilty. I'd say that's a good thing.
True. So you don't always have to follow the recipe. If you want to add more vegetables and fruits, go ahead and do that. And add your seasonings. Add a little more.
I like how you steam the veggie ahead of time so you don't have hard veggies like carrots at the end.
Yeah, definitely. Making sure that it's already prepared or not frozen when you're going to put them in the oven. So then I will attempt to do this with one hand and close the foil so that they create this kind of container.
So if you were to add frozen vegetables in there as well, it would extend the cooking time. You'd have to cook them for longer.
Correct.
Right.
And if you have a smaller pan or even if you want to use your toaster oven with the correct temperature, you can just dump everything onto the pan and cover it with foil tightly. But to know that we kind of portioned everything out, we have ours. And then I have one in the oven that I will hope to show you guys towards the end. So I'll put those in the oven and set for about 20 minutes. Does anyone have any questions?
Janine, could you use other things? So chicken breast, and you said you flattened them or cut them into smaller pieces so they'll cook in that 20-minute period. What about fish? I think fish would work well this way as well, right?
Yeah, this probably works with most protein as long as you get the correct temperature for your meats. The veggies kind of cook fairly evenly. And for chicken, I think it's 165 degrees. So if that, if you're not sure about those, I have a thermometer. So that's also handy if that works for you too.
So the nice thing about this is you can make as much or as little as you want. So you could really just do one packet, right? If you're there by yourself, you can do this as a one person, one packet. So that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I also would like to add that if you are making, let's say, the 4 foil packets like I have, before putting in the freezer, make sure you keep the leftovers and cool it down to room temperature, because that will also mess up safety of the food before putting in the fridge.
Jenny, are you gonna show us the end products right now, or I should show the videos?
Sure. Show the videos and then I'll have.
Okay, I'll go ahead and okay, right now I'm gonna go ahead and show a video that Scott have pre-recorded. It's gonna be also a 1 to 2 people recipe, and it's gonna be frittata. And the recipe we will provide you after the presentation. All right, let's see if the videos works.
It's muted. We can't hear it.
Eggs.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Mustard grains.
Oh,
Guys, it's Scott again, and today we're gonna make frittata for 2. For this dish, we're gonna have eggs, mustard greens, bell pepper and onion, and a mix of Parmesan and Gouda cheese with Italian dry salami. And I have a salt, pepper, crushed red pepper, and garlic spice blend that I'm gonna be putting on. As always, first thing we're gonna start with is the oil. Preheat the pan. It certainly is hot enough. Add my peppers and onions. I'm gonna try to let them sit for about a minute before I turn them. Gonna drop some of my salt and pepper and garlic mix. Now that I've tossed it, I am going to add the salami and the mustard greens. The rest of the salt and pepper. Give it another toss to make sure that mustard greens on the bottom wilting. While that is going, I am going to take my egg and cheese and whisk that together. All right, my oven has been preheating to 400. I have a cast iron pan in here. Pull that out, turn the burner off, I'm gonna drop my veggies in here. I am also going to drizzle a little bit more olive oil in there as well. You would like to have done that before you drop the vegetables, but it is hot, so it won't matter. Now I'm gonna add the egg over top. This is the egg mixture with the Parmesan and Gouda cheese. Give it a little stir. It's already starting to cook because the pan was so hot. Now it is going to go back into the oven until it's done. All right, now 15 minutes later, check and see if it's done. Give it a shake. It is not jiggly at all. All the eggs are set, so it is done. Took the frittata out of the pan, put it on a plate. Now I'm going to spread the rest of the cheese while it's still hot, so the cheese is going to melt on top. Now, the thing about a frittata, it is great if you have leftover anything. I don't care what you have in your fridge, you could turn it into a frittata. Just heat it up, put eggs around it. Something I really love to do is make my favorite sandwiches in a frittata. So I might add ham, Dijon mustard, some dill pickles, and Swiss cheese, and have a hot ham and Swiss frittata. So you are only limited by your imagination. Enjoy.
Hey, Scott, I have a quick question for you. Can you swap out the whole eggs with just egg whites in a frittata if you're watching that cholesterol and such?
You certainly can. The thing about egg whites, there's many different proteins that make up the egg, and the proteins in the egg whites, they solidify or they coagulate at a lower heat than the whites or than the yolk proteins. So I might turn the temperature down a little bit, but yeah, you certainly can use egg white.
Or you could do a combination, right? You could do a couple of whole eggs and then several egg whites to extend it a bit.
Thank you.
I also have a comment about the color of the frittata. It's really colorful. So it shows that you have include a lot, like a variety of food, like a lot of vegetables. We have mentioned this in other lesson that if your food look kind of leaning toward too brown of the color or too red, it's when you might have too much of proteins or too much like carb. But if your foods are colorful, it's an indication that you have include a variety of nutrients in your food.
And you also taste first with your eyes. So if you give somebody, or if you're going to eat something and it doesn't look appealing, you've already told your brain, don't expect this to be good. But if something looks really nice, then your brain already thinks it's going to taste better.
Yeah, totally agree. Very awesome videos. I like the background music.
I like the fact that this could be breakfast, lunch, or dinner, right? You can use this for any meal of the day, and you can extend it. I put in the chat there that Italians will put pasta in. So they not only put vegetables and cheese and meats and things, but they might extend it with some pasta. And you'll see, like in Spain, they put potatoes in it. The tortilla español would be essentially a frittata with potatoes in it. So you can extend it and make it a little bit hearty as well. And then it really serves as a meal. So it's a great way to build a meal quickly. And I like how Scott used or mentioned that you could use all those leftovers as well to really repurpose and extend the food that you have.
And yes, my four-legged sous chef was watching intently because he was ready to chow down.
All right, thanks Scott for the videos. I think we're gonna have this video also available after the presentation. So for the next demo, it's gonna be a cup muffins. I'm a student, a college student. I really like convenient things, so I'm really excited for the cup muffins demo because it's gonna be pretty quick to put together. And I'm gonna.
Hi guys, it's Scott again.
1 second.
Hi guys, it's Scott again, and today we're gonna make frittata for.
There it is.
These are the specific ingredients I used: some almond flour, some mini semi-sweet chocolate chips, 1 egg, a banana, and a mug. Step 1 is to cut up the banana and mash it in a small bowl. After the banana is smashed, step 2 is to mix in the egg. Next, add 3 tablespoons of the almond flour and mix that in. Now that the almond flour is mixed in, we're gonna put half of the chocolate chips in and mix that. And then we're gonna save the other half for the topping. The mixture now goes into a greased mug. Sprinkle the remaining chocolate chips on top. And into the microwave for 90 seconds.
Well,
I might go do that right now.
do you have all the ingredients?
Everybody hopefully has, though maybe not the almond flour, but I'm sure you could use another flour in place of. But I mean, that's something that you could make easily at any time.
Yeah, totally. Isn't it a point like banana, chocolate chips, and flour? Everyone might like probably have that in their pantry.
I might
And it's
splurge-
and you don't even need to reheat an oven. You just throw it in the microwave.
I might splurge and put like real size chocolate chips in there.
Yeah.
Might
Yeah,
risk a little bit of added sugar.
Yeah, there's really very little added sugar there, which is amazing. It's just in the chocolate. There's a similar recipe for pancakes that uses oats or oat flour. So you take the banana, you mix it up with the egg, and then you add in the oat flour, the oats, and you fry it up like a pancake. And it looks just like a pancake. So that's another good one.
Yeah, and if you use like even more ripe bananas, then it's gonna be more sweet. You don't need to add more sugar.
You know what would be really delicious is blueberries. So in place of the chocolate chips, you could throw in blueberries. Ooh, that'd be a good one.
Yeah. A boost of antioxidant.
So how much almond flour? It was 3 tablespoons of almond flour in that recipe. So it was 1 banana, 1 egg, and 3 tablespoons of almond flour.
Mm-hmm. And then you can totally add any toppings that you like blueberries or maybe raisin if you like raisin.
Coconut.
Or bacon.
Bacon. I was going to say coconut would be delicious with the chocolate and the bananas and the almonds as well.
Some dried cranberries.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe scoop of vanilla ice cream on top.
Many options.
Yeah.
So I think what was important about that one, you'll see mug cakes, and mug cakes are great for one person or two people, right? Because it's a small serving and they're super convenient. But a lot of mug cake recipes, if you find them online, will call for sugar, quite a bit of sugar, quite a bit of butter, and that egg and the other ingredients. And it can really add up to the point that you're getting a significant calorie bomb in your little mug there. So this recipe in particular is actually really delicious, and it's pretty nutritious. There's no added sugar there. So that was one of the reasons we chose this one in particular.
Janine, are your packets done?
They are, at least one that I prepared ahead of time. So that one just kind of came out the oven. I can show you guys. Okay, and does everyone see my screen? So
Let me try to pin your screen. 1 second. All right. There you go.
So here is the one packet out of the foil into a dish.
That is certainly my plate. You've got at least half of the plate there covered in veggies. That's amazing. Looks delicious.
I like how it's so obvious that it's have like herbs and the seasoning display. And one of the tips we've been talking about with Dash Diet is, in order to make your food more flavorful without adding more salt, you can play around with seasonings.
And I think the fun thing too about this that I was surprised is you didn't need any oil. It went straight in the oven. And for a Dash Diet, if you're on a low fat, right, you're trying to watch that. Doesn't need any butter, oils, just some good herbs and lots of veggies on top of the chicken.
And those veggies are probably going to create some juices and almost like its own sauce there. I think that looks delicious. I could see serving that over a little side of grain of some sort. So maybe a little pasta, a little rice, a little couscous, a little quinoa. That'd be a good one. We didn't talk about it earlier, but you can actually cook grains in kind of in a normal size portion and then portion it out and freeze it. So rice, quinoa, all of those grains that you might be having as a side dish actually freeze pretty well too. So you would just want to freeze them in one portion or two portion, and then you can pull that out and reheat it to go along with your meals, so that you don't have to maybe do all of the cooking every night. So that's another good way to cook for one or two, is to portion those out and put them in the freezer or the fridge.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Janine. This looks really delicious.
Thank you. And for mine, it actually cooked not 20, but 25, a little under 30. So always watch.
Yeah, and if you're gonna cook like even a smaller portion, you can reduce the cooking time.
Exactly. I think just for the larger portion, maybe because you put the extra veggies on there, that it took a little extra time. So just be mindful of that when you bump up the ingredients. If you use a larger cut of meat or more veggies, it's just going to take a little bit longer to cook. Fish, though, would cook pretty quickly. I would think you could probably cook a packet of fish in 15 minutes max.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like we have a lot of delicious demos. Thanks for everyone for putting your effort, making the videos, and Janine for preparing the ingredients. Let me really quick share back my screen. All right, so thank you everyone for attending. And I hope this lesson has bring you some helpful tips on cooking and in the National Nutrition Month Awareness. And don't forget to follow us on social media. So we have an Instagram page. If you do have Instagram, and you can also find us on a web browser. Type in with SJSU, and we will provide you with a lot of recipes and updates on coming event. And really quick, I want to quickly mention about our next event. It's gonna be on vegetarian cooking on March 26th, 2021. So make sure you mark this date down on your calendar.
And I would just add the March 26th vegetarian cooking session is our last in this series of 6 Zoom classes. We are looking for topics for our next series of classes, and one of the attendees too sent me a note saying nutrition and aging, which is close to my heart. So if you have other topics you would like us to talk about or present, either put them in the chat box chat now, or you can also reach out to any one of us or through Dr. Jen at the Timpany Center, and we'd be happy to entertain those topics.
Any questions from the audience?
Oh, it's gonna be from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So the same time.
Can we answer any questions for anybody? Any cooking questions, any nutrition questions? You have some nutrition professionals here to answer for you.
Question for you. This has to do with heart health. My husband's numbers did not come back glowingly. So obviously, when he checks back with the doctor, they're going to probably suggest some dietary adjustments. Would that adjustment help his number?
I can take that question. Yeah. So number one, I would highly suggest that because diet is such a big influencer there, that you do try to meet with a registered dietitian. But in general, the American Heart Association has an amazing website with a ton of heart healthy recipes on there. So that's a good source for you for really good recipes that you can start incorporating into your meal planning and meal prepping. The DASH diet and the Mediterranean style of eating, which we highlighted in the last presentation, are probably going to be useful styles of eating for you guys. So usually reducing sodium, that's the DASH diet, increasing your fruit and vegetable intake, moderating your meat intake, maybe going vegan or vegetarian a day a week if you're not already doing it. And if you are, then maybe bumping it up to 2 or 3 days a week, because plant-based eating has been shown to be quite beneficial in terms of heart health. So those could be options. But I think really getting as many fruits and vegetables into your diet, and particularly vegetables, is going to be super helpful. But I would recommend that he sees a dietitian and that you go with him if you're doing a lot of the cooking, so that you can be involved in all of that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, we are going to talk about vegetarian cooking next session. So that would be a great one for you to visit with us on, because it's certainly heart healthy.
Good idea. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions we can answer for y'all? Meals geared towards diabetics? Sure. We're coming up into summer months and we're going to have some great produce to highlight. So I'm excited about that personally.
And if you think of any other topics that you would like to see, I've taken a few notes throughout this presentation on things that we can tee up for you. Just reach out to Dr. Jen at the Timpany Center and she'll get those topics to us. And we love doing these sessions. It's lots of fun for us to see your smiling faces on Zoom, make connections with some of you that we've seen many times over. So thank you all very much for enjoying these sessions and continuing to support this effort.
Thank you.
Thank you. Alrighty.
Thank you for attending, everyone. Have a fun and safe weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you.
Chinese Cooking. Thank you, Scott, as well for your video.